Welcome to Unity Inspired Living. Our community began in 1989 as a small worldwide Unity book study group, and we've continued the momentum as an ever-evolving spiritual community. Each Sunday, you will find dynamic thought leaders delivering inspiring messages and talented musicians sharing sound healing through their melody. Here, we embrace ancient spiritual traditions, universal truths, and emerging wisdom. Let's check out this Sunday message. We're so grateful you've joined us.
Prepare yourself to receive Reverend Verona's wonderful message today.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning. Yay, here we are, the first Sunday in September. Yay. So, as we've talked about, or as has been said, the theme this month is peace in the present. And what showed up for me when I knew that theme was any sacred moment now, accord. Any moment now. So at first, I'd like to start, as usual, with a giggle. You all know, if you don't know me, you know that a giggle is, I love giggles. And also, it dawned on me just recently that the reason I have the giggles too is I have a brother, and he's been on the other side of the veil for 20 years now, and he used to always tell jokes. Always, always, always. We couldn't stop him even when he was a little boy. And it dawned on me, oh, this is my way of carrying him on also. I couldn't figure out, like, why do I like to tell jokes? And this is it. This is a promise I made. Like, okay, I'll carry this part of you on. So anyway, there was a man who had a store. And in this store, a customer came into the store, and the customer walked to a bin and pointed to something and said, "What are those?" And the shopkeeper said, "Those are potatoes." And the customer said, "Could I have 2 pounds of those individually wrapped?" And the storekeeper said, "Well, yeah, okay, all right." Okay, so then this customer moved to another bin and pointed and said, "What are those?" The storekeeper said, "Those are plums." And so the customer said, "Oh, okay, could I have 1 pound of those individually wrapped?" So the storekeeper now is rolling his eyes and going, "What is this guy?" However, he says, "Yes, okay." So the person keeps walking around amongst all the bins and things and points to something and says, "What is that?" And the storekeeper said, "Those are poppy seeds and they're not for sale." Isn't that great? And most of us have that feeling sometime. It is a peaceful feeling, but it's something else too. So when we talk about peace, and especially in the world today, it's a buzzword. It is peace. What are we doing? Peace, peace, peace. However, I thought, let's start with some definitions of peace. So the definitions that showed up for me of peace is a state of inner harmony, alignment with the truth, capital T, freedom from attachment, and this is the greatest one, knowledge of your soul's wholeness. Yeah. Think about that. Peace is knowledge of your soul's wholeness. I mean, that's really deep, and it's all pervasive, and it's infinite, and it's something we can understand, though. Yeah, because our soul, with statements like that, I'm not going to speak for everyone else. I'm going to speak for me. My soul understands it. My soul says, "Oh, yeah, I get that. Yeah. So those are the definitions: peace, state of inner harmony, alignment with truth, freedom from attachment. Think of that one. Peace can be a freedom from attachment of any kind. And in this humanness that we're living, this spiritual beings and having human experience, there can be a lot of attachment. And there can be a lot of attachment to things that really are not ours to attach to. However, so it could be freedom from attachment. So those are some of the different sort of definitions of peace, our sort of definitions of peace, what I call metaphysical definitions of peace. And then I thought, okay, so if any minute now, I can feel it, accord is happening, any minute now, okay, and I see that look of disbelief on all your faces, however, any minute now, so I thought, so what is accord? So I looked that up, and accord, and it's so wonderful how it goes together, it's inner unity. You know, we're all really one. Whether we accept it or not, whether we think about it every day or not, we're all really one. And then we are these exquisite, customized, bespoke expressions of the one. However, we are all really one. There's only one of us here. We're all really one in the divine. And what I love about that is we are each the delight of the divine also. Yeah. Think about it. No matter what it is you feel about yourself, if you can allow yourself to know, I am the delight of the divine. And I don't want to anthropomorphize spirit. However, that statement kind of makes me think that there's an entity somewhere going, oh, yay, I made a John. Oh, yay, I made a Jan. Oh, yay, I made a Sheila. Oh, yay, yay, yay. I made a Marianne. Oh, yay, I made a Nancy. So when we allow ourselves to know, I do think that, John, I am the delight of the divine. That the divine is going, ooh, 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 this is wonderful that we're in tandem with one another. So that was a little tangent of mine. But accord is also being attuned to life's flow of spirit. Being attuned to it. And the way we're attuned to it is we have these things inside of us called our intuitive voice. And it does tell us. It does tell us what to do. If you're like me, a lot of times, or sometimes, I'll say, I don't listen. However, then it tells me in another way, or another way, or another way. Or, it's this thing that I learned a long time ago in practitioner training, or the universe hits me with the spiritual 2x4. And then, I get it. Oh, all right, okay. So this is a way that we can actually know that we're in the flow of life. So I'd like to share a story with you, and it's I love how spirit is so serendipitous and so synchronistic. This is a story about Peru. And this is about the women who wove the sky back together. And it's about peace. And in this story, it says, in a small town in Peru, Ayacucho, in a small town, Ayacucho in Peru, a war has taken place. This is not fiction, this is fact, okay? War was taking place, husbands vanished, sons never returned, daughters were made silent. The mountains, which were once the providers, felt heavy with ghosts. And so a group of women decided to gather together one day, and they brought their needles and their thread and their fabric, and they decided the best way to fight this was to sew. And the best way to do it was what they knew to do. So they started making really pretty paintings and tapestries and things of flowers and llamas and all sorts of regular Peruvian things. And then as this war carried on, it dawned on them that they needed to put what was happening in the war, the non-peaceful thing, in these tapestries. So they started sewing these what were they? They're called arpilleros. With bright textiles, they started sewing their sorrow and memory. They started sewing their pain. They started sewing that within them that felt the opposite of peace. And they sewed them, and then they sewed them, and then they used them in commerce, sold them in their village. And people came and marveled at the brightness of them. And most people didn't really look at what was really woven into it. And some of the things woven into it, a figure with a rifle. A burning house was stitched in. Another was a mother crying as soldiers dragged her child away. And they kept on sewing. And they met each week, and they kept on sewing. And then this act of weaving became a prayer. It became a protection. It became their avenue, their activation of peace within. Because they knew that this act of weaving was making something happen. So years later, when the Truth and Reconciliation Council came, they had a Truth and Reconciliation Council, much like they had with Desmond Tutu. They had a Truth and Reconciliation Council came. These cloths were used to speak words that were speak louder than the words. They were used as testimony. This is wonderful. They were used as testimony, and each thread was a witness. Each color was a cry. And so the people of the village decided to say, the women wove the sky back together, for when the war tore it open, they stitched the tears, the peace and the love with memory and closeness. I love that. I just love that. So what this is saying, this story came to me, it showed up to me, I'm on my iPad looking up things, and when this showed up, it was like, Spirit, why am I speaking about a Peruvian story today? Why is that a part of it? And now I get it, because really what it says is, peace doesn't come with soldiers or politicians. It came in this instance from women with needles in their hands, stitching pain into fabric until it became resilience, stitching grief into beauty until it became peace. So, this is such a moving story to me, and I'm sure it is to you too. So you're thinking, so how does this connect to me, us? You know, here I am living here in these glorious United States of America, understanding everything or trying to understand everything that's going on, knowing that we are in a place of ultimate transmutation, not just transformation. We, each one of us, I love knowing this, every single one of us, when we decided to incarnate, we said, send me there to the planet when it looks like there's absolute unending chaos. Send me to the planet when it looks like peace is nowhere around. Send me to the planet, or allow me to incarnate on the planet when it appears that love is no longer viable. I feel that's the time we're in. And I'm not being dramatic, I just feel it. And that each one of us, we've each come with a purpose. So, one of the books that I was looking at, or one of the things that I read, is a book called The Voice of the Master by Eva Bell Werber. You might know her books, but one of the things she says is, over the entire earth plane, there is disturbance. People run hither and thither, seeking satisfaction, seeking release. Through this period runs a golden thread that is the truth of man's being, his oneness with divinity. And as we seek out this thread, peace shall come to abide in each of our hearts. Now, the reason that's important is there can be no peace on the planet until there's peace within and as each one of us. I can go on the peace walk every year for 10 years and talk about peace, but if there's no peace inside of me, it's not going to happen. The wonderful Edwin Gaines often says, is your heart a safe place for someone to walk through? Yeah, I mean, I love it. I wish I'd said it, but, there's only one of us, so I'm saying it, even though it was the divine Edwin Gaines. Yeah, and that's where it starts, in our heart. The peace that goes beyond all understanding. It's in us. It's about our lives. It is exactly who and what we are. So I also was thinking, okay, so what is the way we can make this happen? Okay, Spirit, got it. I am to be a living embodiment of peace. And so as a living embodiment of peace, in what way can I be this and keep living this human life? Because I am going to be on the freeway and someone is going to cut me off and I am going to say, I have a statue of Kuan Yin in my car. Okay, Kuan Yin, please help me not say something mean or rude about them or give them the eye when they go past me. Come on, I'm being transparent here, bless you. And then when they pass me, giving them the eye. So I was thinking, okay, in what ways can this piece really show up through and as me and each one of us? So an acronym showed up for me. You all know I love spiritual acronyms. And this acronym is SAGE. S-A-G-E. When this acronym showed up, when Spirit gave it to me, the first thing I said was, okay, Spirit, all right, universal law, I have not saged my house this month. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Because I sage my house once a month, and that's the honest truth. But then when I allowed myself to calm down, let it be, there is no time and space in Spirit. That's what I realized. You can do it now, or you can wait and do it whenever. The meaning of this acronym SAGE showed up. So the first letter, S. Surrender all life's contractions. What are they? Doubt, fear, anger, unforgiveness, resistance. Yeah, you could give me more, I'm sure. But those are the ones that showed up for me. Surrender all the contractions. Surrender them. Take all the contractions of life. Because, when our muscle contracts, it tightens up. And it's going to do something. It's growing, but still it's contracted instead of loosening up into the flow. Yeah, as you all know, the gym is my second spiritual center. And when I go there, and sometimes my hamstring muscles tighten up, and then I know, okay, it's time to stretch them out, and in the stretching out, love myself. And realize, okay, you're honoring this body temple in the best way possible. That's just my example of surrendering contractions, but surrendering all those things, surrendering anger. And you might be saying, oh, I'm so angry because they did da 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 da. And what I'm saying is, at any given moment, everyone is doing the very best that they know how. And that's the truth, capital T. So the first part, surrender. Surrender, contraction. Second part, allow the current well-being. Be an imaginal cell of the divine. And what's an imaginal cell of the divine, which each of us is the vision of spirit, the vision of the Christ consciousness, the vision of the universal law, the vision of whatever name we want to call it, Allah, Buddha, Jehovah Jireh, whatever name we want to call it. Yeah. Be an imaginal cell of the divine. Allow your current well-being. Because whenever something seems to be happening, non-peace, there is some well-being around. It might just be that I can delineate that I am not being an emissary of peace. It might be just see, this is happening. Oh, I was going to say this is so you can let it absorb. There, so we can, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's not funny, Paris. It's like Spirit's saying, okay, all right, my beloveds. Okay, all right, we're back. Okay, allow the current well-being. Yeah, isn't it interesting that it happened then, that this looked like it was like some sort of technical something. However, it really wasn't, so that it could just sink in. Okay, the third one, G. And I love this word because I made it up. Gratitudinize your life. Gratitudinize your life. Have a gratitude deluge. And that is free your heart and mind. Be thankful for something. I'm thankful that when I woke up this morning, I was in what my grandmother and the old folks used to call my right mind. I realize now I am the old folks, but however, just be grateful for something, anything. And I know you all know this. Even grateful for something that looks like it's a challenge. Even grateful for what appears to be chaos and hate and unlove and anything else that might be running our country. What appears to be. What appears to be like you get up in the morning, you make your spouse coffee, and then they get up and say, it doesn't taste the way I want it to. That doesn't happen to me because I'm single. However, I use that as an example. Be grateful for everything. And I love that word, that Spirit shot through me, that word. Gratitudinize your life. Gratitudinize everything about you. And then, so that's the G. And the last one, the E, expect differently. Expect differently. Be a revelation. Expect something to happen differently. Expect it's not the same thing anymore. Expect that if what if shows up in your life, oh, what if this really takes us down the wrong road and this terrible thing happens? Instead of that, what if this is the opening for something more than I could ever imagine? What if this is absolutely activating the flow of the infinitude of the divine in my life, in their lives, in our lives, in the world? So the E is expect differently. So, SAGE, surrender, allow, gratitudinize, and expect differently. This is the way we get to allow ourselves to be the peace that those women were that made the tapestries, the Peruvian women. And I found, I was walking past my bookcase, and Spirit said, stop, and reach my hand out, and I did, and the book that wanted to be held by me was Conscious Being, Awakening to Your True Self by T.J. Woodward. And this is the little quote that I found in there. We are at a unique time in history in which lasting peace can prevail. However, what is required now is a new kind of action, an inner action. We must each become accountable for our own conscious evolution and make the internal change required to manifest a world that works for all. It starts with one decision. So the way this is happening in my world, you're probably thinking, oh, I love this. Reverend Verona, I love it. Well, maybe you're not thinking that, but I'm thinking this. Anyway, and so this sage thing, how's it happening in my world? So I got a chance to chat with a few of you earlier. My baby girl, my sweet daughter, got married in the first week of August in England. And it was a huge extravaganza. 2 days of weddings, one Nigerian wedding, next day Western wedding, lots and lots of people, 160 people. And part of those guests were the bride's mother and father. The bride's mother and father have been divorced for 15 years, and it was the most acrimonious divorce I ever experienced. And I've been through more than one divorce. But anyway, yeah. So I knew, ahead of time, okay, this is her time. And he and I get to be the highest and the best we can be. And in the 15 years we've been divorced, maybe we've spoken 3 times. Maybe 3.5. But anyway, so I knew, okay, thank you, Spirit. Thank you for this learning. Thank you for this lesson. I get to use sage. I get to use it. So first I surrendered the contraction that he and I might have words, if you know what I'm saying. I surrendered that contraction and said, you know what? Whatever conversation we have, I am the peace of the divine. I am the peace that goes beyond all human understanding. I am the love of God. I am. For me, that's what. So I did. Okay, the conversations we had were infused with love. Even when I first saw him there, it was like, oh, I'm shining that ray of brilliant love all the way through him and through our conversations, okay? First thing, so I surrendered that contraction, allowed the current well-being, like we're here for a celebration of love. Our daughter is marrying someone she's been with for a decade. We are here to celebrate all of this love, all of this joy, all of this return, all of this peace. And we are also here to celebrate 2 families coming together. I mean, really, really knitting together. My daughter happened to marry someone from Nigeria, and I wasn't really clear that they have a cultural norm that once you marry, like now the 2 families are one. And everybody in the 2 families are one. So at least 50 people came up to me and said, oh, you're the mother of the bride. Okay, so you belong to us now. You're our family. Yeah, and I found out they weren't being extra nice. It's the norm, which was of no surprise because it was about love and peace. And the third one, gratitudinize my life. Gratitudinize, have a gratitude deluge. The gratitude deluge is that my son was there. And he and his sister, who have been estranged in the past few years, they loved each other up. Every time I looked, he was hugging her or helping her. Or in the house when I was helping her get dressed in her gown, he came and said, got down. My son, you all know, is 6'5". He got down on his knees in front of his sister and said, I love you. I'll always be here for you. I know he loves you, but don't forget, you and I are always in this together. Yeah. Gratitudinizing my life. Yeah. So, and the fourth one, expect differently. Okay, so when I got there and I told my daughter, I will sit in the front row at the wedding with your father. I will do that because I'm a loving person. And I decided when I walked her down the aisle, and then he and I sat in the front row, and I just expected differently. I expected everything about the 2 of us to be different. I expected everything, all what I thought was the experience I had with him to be different. I expected all the experience he had with me to be different because it wasn't just him that didn't make the marriage work. I expected differently. And I expected it would just be love and joy and acceptance. And it was. And it was even to the point where people came to me during the reception and said, I thought you and her father were divorced. You're so nice to each other. I said, we are divorced, and we are beings of light. Yeah. So this thing, SAGE, I didn't know. The acronym hadn't given itself to me ahead of time before I got there in the beginning of August to the wedding, but this is what happened. The 4 things: surrender, allow, gratitudinize, and expect. And this is how we can bring peace to the planet. So that's my invitation to you, to allow yourself to sage the divine being within. Not that the divine being is not whole, perfect, and complete. However, you know how when we sage our house or sage our car or sage our office, we're giving other vibrations an opportunity to leave, to flow on out, to go on back out into the ethers from whence you came, never to return again in the same form. So that's the invitation. Sage the divine you, sage to the divine within you, sage the divineness that you are. And if you want to learn more about the ways we can do it, come to the workshop. You can tap into your expertise and your prowess now. And Jan said it, but I'm going to say it out loud too. And anyone who comes to the workshop, I brought a gift for you. So we know peace. Peace is in what we are. And as we sage the divine being within, who knows what can happen. Namaste.